Hi everyone, this is WanderJess. In case you're new to my channel, I'm a Korean pharmacist working in a UK hospital. In today's video, I'd like to talk about some British English phrases that sound so British. I was born and raised in Korea, and then I used to live in the States for a bit when I was younger. And I only came to the UK for university, and then I've been just living here since then. As I was always more familiar with American English, when I heard some British phrases, I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds so British. So I thought it would be quite fun to talk about this with you guys. And this video is sponsored by Speak, an AI-driven English learning app that helps you get more comfortable speaking English out loud than any existing method. As I learned English by living abroad, I don't really think it's fair for me to say a certain way is the best way to learn English. But it's just common sense, I think. If you want to improve your conversational English, you do need to listen a lot and speak a lot. What do you think, Luna? Personally, I found Speak really well designed, so I'm more than happy to talk about Speak to show how it works and how it's different compared to other English learning apps. And also, as New Year has just begun, I wanted to do like a little social campaign, and Speak also wanted to do one together with me. So we've decided to give away 10 one-year subscription memberships to 10 of you guys who've been finding it quite difficult to financially afford like getting private lessons. So I'll be talking about Speak and the social campaign at the end of this video, so make sure you watch till the end. Anyways, let's dive into British English for now. So the first British English I've got here is pass wind. So in a sentence, you can say, oh, I think he just passed wind. So basically, to pass wind means fart in the UK. Or in younger generation, you can say to pump as well. So just like, oh, I think he just pumped. So basically, British people do not necessarily prefer saying something like straight away because it's just not really like their culture. So when I first heard of this pass wind, I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally the most posh way of describing fart, if that makes sense. And I thought it just sounds so British. For your information, Luna passes wind a lot, literally like all the time. And honestly, sometimes I'm literally like, from this tiny little body, I don't even know how that's like possible, that kind of like strong wind, not fart. Whoop! Anyways, that was the first one. The second one I've got here is tea time. So as you guys know, British people love tea. There are lots of British English phrases with the word tea in it, such as, oh, it's not my cup of tea. They basically use the word tea time just to describe certain time of the day in general. So for example, I would ask the patient, oh, when do you take this medicine? They would literally say, oh, 1 in the morning, 1 in tea time. And speaking about tea time / dinner, there's one more interesting thing in the UK. So tea time can actually mean 2 different times according to where you are in the UK. So in the south, where I spent like 6-7 years, tea time basically just means like late afternoon because it's just like breakfast, lunch, tea, and dinner. But in the north, where I spent like 4 months now, basically tea time can mean like evening. It's just because they count it as like breakfast, dinner, tea. I know a lot of you guys be like, okay, I've never heard of this. But trust me, like people in the north in the UK, they do say dinner for lunch and tea for the evening. I basically had no idea for like 3 months about this. And basically at work on orthopedic ward, pharmacists share the office with trauma coordinator. Around like 2 p.m, she's been always telling me, being like, oh, I'm gonna have my dinner now. And I would say like, oh, why are you having dinner now? But she would understand it as like, why are you having your lunch too late? So she would say, oh, it's just because it's too busy. And I would basically understand it as like, oh, it's too busy, so I wouldn't have time later, so I'm having my dinner now. We've been literally having this conversation for like 3 months, and one of the junior doctors literally told me, and I was like, what? How interesting. So now we know. So if there's anyone who's coming to the north part of the UK, when they say dinner, it basically means lunch. And when they say tea time, it's in the evening. Even Luna is not really happy with that. because Luna's from Wales. Okay, the third one I've got is Chinwag. Basically, a Chinwag means conversation. Basically, if you can imagine like people having conversation, your chin kind of moves like this and basically like wagging. So that's why a conversation is called a Chinwag. So you can say like, hey, would you be up for a Chinwag later? And basically that means that, hey, would you be up for a chat to catch up later? I thought this sounds so British as well because I think British people really like to kind of use like some sort of metaphor to describe some sort of situation. And I really thought like this Chinwag and conversation was like a really good example. And the next one is as cheap as chips. This confused me so much when I first came here. So basically in the UK, chips means fries. It's usually quite like chunky, but that's basically what the British people would like think of when they heard the word like chips. And the things that American people call as chips is called crisps here. In the UK, you can literally find chips anywhere, like literally any restaurant, any takeaway, literally anywhere. Basically the cheapest menu that you can find in any restaurant or literally anything would be chips. So when something's really cheap, you just say like as cheap as chips. The fifth one is the full monte. Basically the origin of the full monte is not really like certain, but the full monte is like a British expression and it basically means literally everything possible. So if someone says, oh, I went shopping yesterday for my Christmas party, and I can just ask, oh, so did you get the full monte? And it basically means, did you get literally everything you need? Like food, drinks, and like everything. So if you've been to the UK before, when you go to like a restaurant for like brunch or something, you might have seen the full English breakfast is written as like the full monte. And it's literally because the full English breakfast got everything. It's got the full monte, so you can just call it as like the full monte. Okay, now the last one I've got is Bob's your uncle. Can anyone guess what this means again? Because when I first heard that, like I literally had no idea. Basically, Bob's your uncle means as that it is, like something that cannot be wrong. For example, like someone would ask you, oh, where's the post office? And you can just say like, oh, just go straight, turn right, and on your right side, Bob's your uncle. When I literally heard this expression, I was like, what? Bob? Who's Bob? And like, why am I looking for Bob's uncle? Like, I was like, what? So what I think about this expression is like, I think Bob used to be like a really common name in the UK. And unlike most of Asian languages, in English, you just call all the male relatives as like uncle. So maybe in the past, it was not possible not to have an uncle with the name Bob, if that makes sense. So basically, if something it's like obvious and cannot be wrong, you just say Bob's your uncle. And one interesting thing about this expression is that you never really say Bob is your uncle. They just always say like Bob's your uncle, like for some reason. So when something cannot be wrong, you just say, oh, Bob's your uncle. So these were like 6 expressions that I found like, oh my gosh, this is so British. And when I first heard of them, I was like, what the heck is going on? I strongly believe that language always represents their culture, and I genuinely find it fascinating. So when I look back, I think I really liked talking to different people with different backgrounds and everything, and I always wanted to kind of like talk about myself as well and how my culture is different from yours and that kind of things. And to enjoy that, I had to speak good English. So when I couldn't really like deliver the message that I wanted to deliver just because of my poor English, I think I was just like really annoyed when I was young. So young Jess was like, I'm going to improve my English as soon as possible and as much as possible. So even if I was quite young, there were some things that I decided to do, and some of them were like watching TV shows just like SpongeBob, that kind of things. But among all those, what I found really effective was basically talking to people a lot, listening a lot, and then speaking out loud a lot. Because you have to repeat, you have to speak out loud before actually using that expression or phrases in front of people. that was basically kind of like my strategy to learn English, I think. I think it kind of worked quite well because my first language is not English, but I managed to finish a university degree in English. I'm working in a hospital as a pharmacist. So whenever someone asks me about like the best way of learning English, I always just say like you just need to listen a lot. You need to just like learn the entire thing as like by heart, and you need to speak a lot as much as possible. And to achieve that, there are like lots of different options. And I genuinely thought speak can be a really good option. So I'm just going to quickly show you how this speak works. And basically, if you go and speak, there are lots of different topics and levels. And if you click one of them, basically it's got like a little tutorial and speaking practice, and then you can practice it in a real conversation. This last bit here, it's basically like talking to a native speaker in like a situation, and then you can basically use all the expressions and phrases that you've just learned. I'm just gonna choose this episode and show you how it works.
What should we watch on Netflix tonight?
Anything is fine.
By the way, do you remember that time we watched Lord of the Rings?
Why are you so
Oh
flirty?
man, that was such a fun movie.
I do not remember watching Lord of the Rings with you. And you can actually listen to
I don't remember watching Lord of the Rings with you.
the native one.
No, but we definitely watched a movie with that main actor.
Did we? I do not remember the main actor's face.
I don't remember the main actor's face.
It's at the tip of my tongue.
At the tip of my tongue is actually the phrase that like I use
Elijah
quite
Woods.
a lot as well.
Yes, it was Harry Potter. That's what we saw together.
I remember watching Harry Potter with you. I do not remember main actor's face. Basically, and if you're not really sure how to pronounce certain word, you can basically tap it, for example, like face.
Face.
And then I'm just gonna try saying it in like a proper Korean accent. Pace. And basically, it literally shows you how I pronounce it. And they would actually tell me how to change it as well. For example, it's not pace, it's like face. So like to pronounce F, you do this and do this. And I'm gonna try it as like face. There we go. What I think it's really good about Speak is that you don't really need some sort of paper to take notes down. You don't need a textbook, or you don't really have to be like sitting in front of the desk in like a proper study mode. Instead of that, when you just get ready for work, when you're like driving, when you're going somewhere, you can just turn on one episode and then try to just like practice it. And it makes you practice like conversational English as much as possible by speaking out loud. So anyone can try out Speak for free for 7 days. And if you're interested in getting a subscription membership, they're basically doing like an event with like special discount. So I'm gonna put all the details in the pinned comment and the description box, so just check it out. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, if you always wanted to improve your English but you never really had any chance to take private English lessons, or it was some sort of like financial burden for you, Speak and I are giving away 10 a-year subscription memberships. So just fill out a quick questionnaire. I'm going to put the link in the description box, and Speak and I will review everything and choose 10 of you guys and then get back to you. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you found today's video a bit useful, and I will see you in the next video then. Have a great day, guys. Bye!